Welcome to Sports Tonight Live. It may be really hot outside, but the Premier season is soon to start, and we're going to look at the contenders this evening, starting, well, I don't know if we start with Arsenal, do we? You would like to think we're going to start with Arsenal, Kenny, but good to see you again, Kenny.
Well, it's good to see you, Pete.
Yeah.
Renewing acquaintances from the World Cup. I noticed when Brazil didn't win the World Cup, you had a very self-satisfied smile. And remember, you're very close to me, so no,
yeah, I better,
nonsense from you.
I better watch that left hook.
Well,
because I feel the same way about Brazil as I do about Arsenal, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Really bad, you know that, Pete, you know that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got with us also Jonathan C. I hope I pronounced that surname right. You're not a Forest fan, so you can come and give a bit of neutrality on the whole.
I will try.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ben Davis, who joined us through the World Cup, who was a Palace fan, is that right?
Yeah.
Someone has
not
to
a Brazil
be.
fan, anyway.
Someone has to be.
Yeah.
We've also got Brandy Brewer as well in our Twitter corner, replying to your tweets. We'll come over to her in a second, and we've got some competitions running online, and those competitions involve 3 games at the start of the season. Win £100 if you can predict the 3 correct scores: Newcastle, Man City, Burnley, Chelsea, West Ham against Spurs, and also another competition is £50 and how many goals will be scored. We'll go over to Brandy very soon, but let's talk about Arsenal and their potential of winning the Premier League. They led last season, but they let it slip. Whereas previous season they tend to have come late and won.
No, I think what's happened with Arsenal is just basically the key games are 6 pointers away from home. That's where we struggled, because obviously we didn't have a plan B, and teams basically hit us on the break and capitalising on all the mistakes we made. They punished us for every mistake. You talk about the games of the Etihad, we lost 6-3, the 5-1 against Liverpool, and obviously that game against Chelsea, the disaster, the match I was at as well. It was like every time we made a mistake, Liverpool, Chelsea and Man City punished us. They were ruthless. And I think where Arsenal got to improve, if we want to win the league, we have to do better away from home and make ourselves more difficult to beat and be less open.
So from a neutral perspective, how do you think their signings have been so far? I mean, is this man going to be delighted with what's happened in the transfer market?
Well,
obviously
really,
got new site, Debuchy from Newcastle was one of the new signings.
They sorely needed defensive reinforcements, and I really like the signing of Alexis Sanchez from Barcelona. To watch the video of him and all his, so he looks like he really fits into the Arsenal style of play. So he'll hold the ball, he's very comfortable on the ball. He's not going to be hoofing it up 40-50 yards. He would be very careful with it on the ball. What I also wanted to check in also is that Arsenal last season, I felt that they lost steam along the way.
Which is a surprise for them, because normally they come with a great deal of steam towards the end of the season. They didn't this time, did they?
Yeah, so they lost steam. Ozil kind of lost one. I think they maybe relied on him a little too much. So now they just need, a couple more signings to take the load off him a tad. And
how do you think the reaction to Arsene Wenger will be first game of the season? If remember the Aston Villa game and being booed. They are a lot that don't like to, you know what I mean? They don't like being beat, do they? The old Arsenal fans, and they tend to throw the sort of, tears at the teapot or whatever it might be. They sort of cry in their soup, don't they, every time they lose?
I say so. I think Arsenal fans may have a bit of a short memory, because they feel a bit cock-a-hoop because they finally got a trophy, but only a few weeks before that, if not a few days, if not half an hour before you won it, a lot of you were calling for Arsene Wenger's head.
Who says we're not calling for his head right now?
Are you? And after what happened in January, and I know we're looking forward, but we still have to expose what was some awful management in the transfer window, when you were absolutely crying out for a striker, not even a world-class one. Just a mediocre one would be fantastic. And as it stands, and even though that Sanchez signing is fantastic and it's mouth-watering prospect of having Walcott on one side and Sanchez on the other, that'll be terrifying. But as we stand now, we still don't have really an out-and-out poacher striker, which I think you need, a 30-goal a season.
And defensively as well, that you're a bit weak defensively as well.
We're going to lose for Marlon, so obviously we need to replace him. We've got a new right back. We've got Debuchy from Newcastle. It's a fantastic buy. France's number 1 right back. I repeat, France's number 1 right back.
It was astoundingly good last season.
He obviously played.
Are you listing Sagna?
Well, Sagna's probably been the best right back in the Premiership for the last 6 years. That's undisputed.
Okay, we're going to come back to Arsenal in a minute. Hopefully we can get over. Obviously we're running this competition. Let's go over to Okay, we can't go over to Brandy, I'm afraid. She's sitting there waiting. Everyone at home is not watching us. They're waiting to see Brandy.
We're
going to get that sorted
a little bit more Arsenal. I pull out a stat about Alexis Sanchez.
Yeah.
And it seems that last season he scored 15 goals in 20 league games, and that's astonishing. Goals per game type of ratio. I think he could, really do the job for Arsenal. Now they just need defense.
But the key thing with Arsenal is the fact that, unlike Manchester United, they haven't got a big. They have got a lot of European games next season as well, and they tend to, that tends to tire them as well, doesn't it?
Well, he said it tends to tire them, but I think what we do in the European games, we start off very well, and for some reason, when we're comfortable, we contrive to, finish second in the group. And what happens, when the knockout stages comes, we always get to play teams like Bayern Munich and Barcelona because we never win our group. So I think that's where we need to improve a lot this season, obviously away from home in the league. However, John's right. We can, and obviously Ben's right. We can do a poacher striker because John's not good enough.
It's key with Arsenal, though, isn't it? When they come to the big games, they've done really well. We'll talk about the first few games a bit later on, but the key was when they played the big guys, Man City's and the Chelsea's. They couldn't do it.
Yeah, but I've told you why.
I'm not talking to an Arsenal fan, I'm talking to a neutral.
Yeah, but I've told you why.
Yeah, but...
Yeah, that sort of ties into... Yeah, they're like that in the big games, and they're like that as a season as a whole when the pressure's on. And I know it seems like an easy jibe, but have Arsenal got it mentally to actually win a league, to sustain it throughout the season?
We were 2-0 down in the FA Cup.
I'm not talking about one game. I'm talking about...
But that's a pressure game.
I'm talking about the entire season.
But that's a pressure game. The FA Cup final, we haven't won a trophy for 9 years. We're 2-0 down, could have gone 3-0 down when Bruce's header was cleared to the line by Kieran Gibbs. We managed to score pretty quickly to make it 2-1, and we proved in a big game we can now win trophies. We finally got over the line.
But we're talking about the Premier League. We're talking about the Premier League.
No, you just need to repeat that against Chelsea and
winning a trophy may be a prelude to further success.
Arsenal, like Tottenham fans, they're just delusional.
No, Tottenham. No,
they are. Tottenham fans are exactly the same. Arsenal fans.
Why are we delusional? Why compare us to that small club in White Lane for? Why? For a start, Arsenal fans are from Islington. Spurs fans are not from Harringay, from Essex.
Yeah.
And Hertfordshire. We're Islington born and bred, us Gooners.
A lot of them gone to Enfield and places like that.
But initially, our origins in Islington. That lot.
There's not many Arsenal fans live in Finsbury Park now, though, is there?
What do you mean? There's tons of Arsenal fans. Were you there at the cup final after at Finsbury Park? It was rocking. Where were you?
Rocking with people dressed up in Arsenal fans.
Yeah, where were you then?
Wearing Arsenal kits.
Where were you then? Yeah, you're probably prepared to go to watch that small game in the playoffs.
No, but what I mean by delusional is every season Tottenham fans, we're going to win this, we're going to win that, we're going to finish above Arsenal. And Arsenal really always finish fourth. What do you think, Jonathan?
I definitely agree with mental strength bit.
Yeah,
definitely agree. They kind of lost it. They had it before when they were challenging for Premier League.
I think. Sorry to cut you off there. I'll just quickly say, I think Arsenal fans might look quite enviably at Van Gaal, who, most people coming into that Man United job would say, right, we've got a 5-year plan, but with him, it's like this is a 1-year plan. I'm only interested in first place. I don't know if it was a dig at Wenger, but he said, I'm not interested in fourth place. And it feels like it's an acceptable achievement.
Feels like a dig.
It feels like it's acceptable for Arsenal, but it's not for Man United. And you need a manager where it's not acceptable to come forward.
Where's it acceptable? I'm a Gooner for the last all my life. I've never accepted fourth place.
But you've got a manager that thinks that will suffice.
Regardless, I still feel Arsene Wenger's the wrong man for the job. I still like a change at the top.
Yeah, that's
because the simple reason why, tactically, in the big games I was talking about, he is not prepared to, like I said, use the plan B that's available. For instance, when we play Chelsea away from home, or Man City, or Man United, or Liverpool, why are we so open? Who do we think we are that we can still play our football against these top sides and go there and win? We're not going to do that. We need to make ourselves difficult to beat, nick a point, even nick a goal. At the end of the day, it's about points in the black. If we want to win this league, then we need to have a plan B away from home.
Can they win it?
Well, no.
No. Can they win it?
No, I don't think so. I think Khedira would be an interesting addition. I think he'd be quite crucial for any aspirations to win the league because like Ken was saying, they do need that grit. You do need that holding midfielder to just calm everyone down and grind out a couple of
victories. But to be fair to Arsenal,
victories.
they've had some injuries, haven't they, towards the end of the season?
Ramsey, yeah. I mean, Ramsey was incredible. I still can't get over. I mean, he was literally... Wasn't literally. I don't say that word too often. But he was approaching world class, wasn't he? I think he scored nine goals.
That's a very strong word. considering that he was saying Rooney wasn't world
But
class.
for
Or
someone-
Messi, no, he said Messi wasn't world class.
No, I never. Again,
For a 3-month period, he was
said
scoring more than anyone in Europe. It was sensational. And even when he came back from injury, it was like, actually, this guy's still looking very special. So,
he came on loan for Forest, and we watched him a couple of times. Look good, however, still coming back from injury.
Yeah.
So yeah, for all of our focus on big buys, if you can just keep him fit, then you might be there or thereabouts for 5th.
For 5th.
Well, like I
third,
said, I hope we thrash Crystal Palace first game of the season. In fact, I expect us to anyway.
That's very hurtful.
But we are having some technical difficulties getting over to Brandy. We are going to be speaking about Chelsea a bit later on. I'm going to get her involved, and might have to get her on the sofa here because they can't seem to connect cameras from one end to the other, which is a bit disappointing. Let's talk about Manchester United, and obviously now with a new manager in place. I think they've got a very good chance.
They'll win. I think they're the favourites. They've got a proper
Really?
coach. Yeah, why not? They've got a proper coach.
Stick some money on.
I think they're valued.
Yeah, I think they're valued for money. They've got a proper coach proper coach. He's going to get them into playing a proper system, proper defensively, especially away from home. He's got a structure of how he wants them to play, and he's got players going to respond to his methods. I don't see why not. The bottom line is these players.
Is he getting carried away with a 7-0 win? Is he?
What you mean? Come on,
Muscle win.
Yeah, but this is Van Gaal.
But you got Van Gaal just coming on newspapers after that, just saying his team is imbalanced.
Yeah.
He's got too many number 10s.
No, but he said he'll work with that. I think if anyone can work with it, I think he can. But just to add to all your reasonings there, I mean, I don't think they're going to win it, but I think we need to stress that no Europe factor.
Yeah.
In terms of
they got far less.
In terms of fitness, that's going to be massive.
He's going to have players wanting to play for him as well, which wasn't the case under David Moyes. He's going to have Van Persie wanting to play for him. He's going to have Rooney wanting to play for him.
It's that kind of figure you want to do everything for him. You want to impress him. He's got that father figure, and who's the last sort of real father figure we had in the Premier League? Sir Alex Ferguson.
But you look at the situation as well. Sorry to cut you in. Everyone talks. You know how you were talking about Arsenal in a goal poacher. Like I said, you've got loads of good forwards, but a goal poacher. Well, they've got Chicharito.
Yeah.
Now, if he can just get into Chicharito.
Is that right? Chicharito? That's a song by ABBA, wasn't it?
No,
Fernando signed for Manchester.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, God, did it?
Yeah, it's not an ABBA show.
Money.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well done.
So,
but the only thing...
Takes it all.
Let it go now. Let it go. We're doing well.
Queen, but that's another show.
Give it mad after Red Line.
Yeah.
Mamma mia.
United need another maybe defender.
More than one, I'd say.
Well,
they've got a very young defence right
Rio
now.
Ferdinand's gone to QPR. Evra's gone to Juventus.
And Vidic.
And Vidic has gone as well. So it's a whole back four.
They've lost.
Is Shaw value for money?
We have to wait and see. He's only 18, isn't he?
It's a good investment if he does go on to be a very, very special player, because he's going to be there for 12 years. And as we all know, if you're an England player, then you're an extra premium, hence sort of downing him.
So, as an Arsenal fan, you looked at David Moyes coming to Man United, you weren't that bothered, I guess. But this year, you were thinking, well, hold on a minute, this guy's going to make a big difference.
Well, I said on this platform last year to Man United fans, and I said to me, you guys don't even look convinced that David Moyes is going to be the real deal. That bottom line, he's won nothing. He won nothing at Everton. Didn't win anything at Preston. I think his best season was
got promoted.
Well, he got promoted, but he lost a playoff. His most memorable game for Preston was losing a playoff 3-0 against.
Is it fair to say Martinez done better with Everton than Moyes did?
Of course he did. He got better. He got more out of the players, and he basically got them thinking that they could finish in the top 4.
He changed that philosophy that if you're Everton, you haven't got much money, you've got to be gritty if you want to get anywhere.
And Van Gaal is now going to change the system. He said, look, I'm going to play 3 at the back. He's been quite open about that. And they've won 7-0. Man United fans might be getting a bit too carried away, though.
No, not going to get carried away. For this reason, they've got a great coach. This guy has won titles in every country he's won, and he's won the Champions League. This is not Mickey Mouse. You've got as coach. You've got Van Gaal.
He's a very strong
top coach. Yeah. He's even a better coach than Mourinho.
Who do you think will be the key players for Manchester United next season?
Definitely, you need to get Rooney playing. Yeah, and
this guy loves. We could spend the whole hour talking about Wayne Rooney.
John, is Wayne Rooney world class?
There it is, the catchphrase.
I would say not yet.
Is he world class?
I would say not yet. He's got the skills, got the flair, but I think was it Paul Scholes who said that he hasn't quite achieved. He hasn't quite gotten there yet. He hasn't proved it, so to speak.
Okay, and do we think Van Persie is going to have a much better season? Because obviously the Dutch connection there is going to
Is he going to come out of phantom injuries?
I bet he doesn't. We're going to take a very short break. We are going to be discussing more Manchester United. We're going to be discussing Chelsea and Liverpool and Man City after this very short break. Welcome back, Sports Night Live. We're looking at the contenders. We think it's only 5 teams. We spoke about Arsenal, and some would say they're not really a contender. We are on Manchester United. We are joined as well by Brandy Brewer. Sorry about the other end of the things there. Whilst obviously the break, we had some people enter the competitions.
We did indeed, yes. So the £100 up for grabs on the correct scores. Dan Smith is full of confidence. He says easy: West Ham 1, Spurs 3, Man City 1, Newcastle 1, and Burnley 0, Chelsea 1.
There you go. He's going for the obvious.
He is.
He's going for the obvious. Anyone's entered the £50 one where the amount of goals?
We have, just bear with me a second, Stuart Escod3 on Twitter. He thinks that there's going to be 23 goals in the first weekend. And Andrew Atkinson, he reckons there's going to be 27. 27? Well,
I'd like to know how many were last year. I think it was quite a lot at the beginning. And before I talk to these guys about Manchester United, we'll talk about Chelsea soon. Arsenal?
Arsenal, no. Sorry.
There you go. There you go. All the Tottenham fans are going to love you now.
Although I don't think it'll be Tottenham either, sorry.
No, it won't be Tottenham either. We're talking about someone that might win it is Manchester United. We were talking about them before the break. Being out of Europe is going to make a massive difference, isn't it?
Oh yeah, because they haven't got midweek games. Like for instance, like I said, they've got more time to recover from any knocks. Especially players like Van Persie. The only thing they've got to worry about really is just players going off on international duty. Because obviously the international calendar's quite long, and obviously the Champions League calendar's going to be quite long as well. But Man United haven't got that to worry about.
And this year there's the World Cup, so you have to factor in World Cup fatigue.
Do you though?
I think so.
I mean, it's the same for everyone all around Europe, though, isn't it? I mean, UK teams say, we played all season, but don't the Spanish, don't the German, don't the French, don't they play all season?
But English football's more intense, isn't it? It's basically end to end with no break. It's played at 100 miles an hour. Obviously, the ball's more on the ground, so obviously, players will have problems with recovery. It's just a fact.
The only thing I would say, just play devil's advocate, Europe. Obviously, it's very tiring, but it's also a good way of using all of your squad and keeping your players happy bunnies, because you get to play them often in dead rubbers. Whereas for Van Gaal, you may have a few people kicking and screaming if they're not starting in the Premier League. And I very much look forward to seeing how he reacts to that, because they won't get very far. He's
so in a word, I'm going to ask all of you: Manchester United, can they win the league?
I don't think so. Well, I hope they don't anyway.
Oh, they don't.
I think they've got to win the league. I think they could win it.
You're going to got to win it, so you really are.
They've got to win the league.
They've got to win the league.
They've got
so
no
you're
excuses.
really keen on Manchester.
They've got no excuses for fatigue. They've got to win the league.
Okay, Jonathan?
I think they're going to challenge very, very closely, but ultimately finish second.
Okay.
Yeah, similar to that. It's a year too soon. I think the defence is just going to be too shaky.
Right, let's talk about a team now that I really loathe.
I hate them as well.
Good. There's 2 on the panel. Chelsea. Oh, the arms are folding there. Chelsea, actually, though, on a serious note, they deserve favourites, do you think?
No, they're not deserve favourites. I'll tell you why.
I don't think so either.
Absolutely not. I'll tell you why they're not deserve favourites. For a simple reason, yes.
Go on, argue. Make sure you argue with me.
I'll tell you why they're not deserve favourites. People assume because they got Jose Mourinho that they're actually favourites. I think, basically, Chelsea... The reason why Chelsea didn't win the title was because of Jose Mourinho's tactics, especially against the smaller teams. Jose Mourinho basically is a counter-attacking manager. Like, he puts men behind the ball, waits for the opposition to make mistakes, and then boom, he tries to hit them on a break, maybe win about 3 or 4-0, or maybe sneak the odd one. Against teams that come to Stamford Bridge to defend, i.e. the Crystal Palace and Norwiches, he struggled. And
that's what let them down, though. It's a fair point. Last season, like you said, they played West Ham. They drew Palace. John Terry scored a cracking goal, didn't he?
Oh, goal. And that's the thing. They dropped a lot of points against teams that basically.
But he'll address that this season because he's got better players. He may have
better players, but the trouble with Mourinho is only plays one way, counter-attacking, and that backfired. It backfired at Real Madrid. And that's one of the reasons why he was unpopular at Real Madrid. And another thing about Mourinho as well, it's his man management. It's like, it's always someone else's fault. Like, for instance, Chelsea didn't win the league because, they didn't have any strikers. Well, hang on here. They didn't have any strikers. Well, if you're so much a special one, then you should devise tactics to confront that. He spent all year slagging off Torres and everyone else. And also,
don't let him talk about that.
What was he? One more thing. Again, Hazard is what is like the Rolls Royce footballer. He spent all season slagging him off and disciplining him, and he's slagging off Oscar. Basically, his man management is going to cost Chelsea this league.
There was a point that Lukaku was at Everton. He had Eto'o, didn't he? He had Demba Ba. Didn't really use them. Torres actually didn't have too bad a season by his previous standards, but he's obviously brought Costa now, isn't he? What do you think of Costa?
Well, I didn't think that he played too well in the World Cup, obviously. Yeah. But hopefully he was just saving all of his energy for Stamford Bridge.
And he's a kind of player that Chelsea could deal with, because he's an old player, isn't he?
I think the only problem with Diego Costa is his attitude, though, because he's going to cost us a lot of red cards, I think. So
what do you think about the prospect of Drogba coming back?
I really hope he does come back. I know that his passions lie with Chelsea, so... Fingers crossed.
Yeah, but he's 36. He's 36 or 37. It's
a bad move. I think it's a bad move.
It's a desperate move.
I can see why it's a good move for Mourinho, because it's another ally. He's lost Ashley Cole and Lampard, who obviously worship Mourinho, and now all he's got left is Terry, so it makes a lot of sense to have Didier Drogba back from that and the presence in the changing room. But it's poor, both from Drogba's point of view. With the last kick, he played for Chelsea, won the Champions League. Don't come back. He's only going to get worse.
But he's not done particularly well for Galatasaray, is he?
But no,
he's 36.
He's not been unbelievable. But the problem is, if you take Drogba, then you're not going to take Lukaku. And for goodness' sake, give Lukaku a chance. For goodness' sake.
But
he's fresh,
do you think there's a danger that Drogba is a bit of a legend, scored the winning Champions League?
Leave it there.
Is he a legend? And will he come back? Could he damage that potentially? Could he not be a legend anymore?
I mean, there is always that potential, but I think they just want to get him back because he's a legend, and it's going to make the Chelsea fans happy.
Yeah, he'd be used as a sub, I guess, wouldn't he? You can't imagine that Drogba and Torres will hold the front line for Chelsea.
It'd be a similar role to Ryan Giggs last year, I think. You know, this sort of senior, very respectable guy on the training pitch. However, like I say, that's my real big problem, is if that pushes Lukaku out again.
And Jonathan, in terms of a bit of business that Jose Mourinho done, we talked about the players coming in, but David Luiz going out. He must have been. That's the best £50 million.
The jokes all around were brilliant. The jokes on the net was brilliant for
I've seen that one on Woucher, giving him away.
I love that Woucher joke. It was just.
But the funny thing was, in Brazil the week before, he scored that brilliant free kick, didn't he? And everyone was, because Neymar was injured, you had all these Brazilians wearing the wigs, and then suddenly he did that in the final.
I think his best position is just anywhere else but centre back,
like centre midfield, isn't it?
Just because if he makes mistakes,
you just put him up front as a attacking midfielder and just leave him there.
And in relation, go back to Costa. Do we think Costa's going to score the necessary goals for Chelsea next season?
It depends on Mourinho's tactics.
Is it a gamble?
Yeah, but no, it depends on the tactics of the manager. Because guess what? If Costa doesn't score 15 or 20 goals, the first thing Mourinho would do would be, instead of taking the blame himself, he'll blame Costa. And that's the thing with Mourinho. Mourinho is very skillful at deflecting the blame from anyone else but himself. He basically, in that semi-final against Atletico Madrid, Mourinho cost Chelsea that. Real Madrid are a good side, but they were beatable. But Mourinho's negative tactics, both home and away, cost Chelsea that game. You watch the games, you see it for yourself.
And from your point of view, you being a Chelsea fan, I mean, who do you like watching? Who sort of excites you? Probably the best word. But I mean, who's the players that you like at Chelsea? Is it Hazard? Is it Oscar?
Oscar.
Do you like Oscar?
Yeah.
Right, because basically he's young, he's got a lot of potential, and he's very skillful, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that it? Nothing else. Nothing else.
I think he had a pretty decent World Cup.
He did
in the Brazil squad.
No, I think he'll be struggling for a spot. I think he'll be struggling for a spot now. Fabregas is coming.
Yeah.
You know, Fabregas is a world-class.
And we talked about Fabregas, and when I said he wasn't coming back to Arsenal, he was very pleased with that.
I was very pleased with that.
Do you think he'd do well at Chelsea?
Well, again, depends. He should do well at Chelsea. He's a fantastic player. But again, it's about how Mourinho uses him. It's his tactics. And at the end of the day, you've got one of the best attacking midfielders in the world. Use him properly. If you want to win this league, then utilise the gifts
But
you've
it is
got.
fair to say, as a tactician, there's no one better than Mourinho. You know, when he needed to beat Liverpool, he beat them. You know, and when he needs to beat teams, he strategically works out the best way to do it. People will say against Liverpool they parked the bus, but that wasn't true. They tactically beat Liverpool. That was just the way they did it.
It was a counter-attack again. Both their goals were scored in the counter-attattack.
But Arsenal can learn from that, though, couldn't they?
That's one thing about Mourinho. Mourinho is the best counter-attacking coach I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He basically is also, in short term, he can get results. I've never seen a manager go to a club and in his first season win trophies like he does, and actually basically for 2 or 3 years his success. I've never seen it in my life. And in terms of short-termism, he's brilliant. Long-term, nah, not sure.
Yeah, maybe not. I think one of the problems this season that they may not have addressed is last season. I think one of the complaints was they played a little bit too centrally. I can't think of the
much width.
Yeah, I can't think of any wide.
But Ramirez is still very, very good player for them, isn't he? And Willen, who didn't play much for Brazil, which surprised me. He's another one. Eto'o is obviously gone. He obviously knows where his weaknesses are. They're going to be stronger next season, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting to see, Ashley Cole go. That did potentially seem damaging, even though he is ageing. But the guy they've got in is wonderful. I don't know if you've seen him. In La Liga, it's Felipe Luis.
Yeah, Luis. Yeah, for Alex.
So they got rid of one Luis and they got one exceptional one.
That Luis should have gotten the World Cup. Should have played Brazil
unbelievable.
Team,
yeah, he's the best. He's Brazil's best left back.
Have we got any tweets coming in at all? While we're here?
Yeah, we have. There's a lot of feedback to Drogba coming back.
Okay.
Kian Barry says it would be a good move for Chelsea. He'll always be a Chelsea legend. His presence that Chelsea lack. Important that Chelsea makes it clear that Drogba won't be starting all games, so he won't throw his toys out of the pram. #ego.
But Mourinho will know how to deal with that.
Yeah, if anyone could calm Drogba's ego, yeah.
Well, of course Mourinho's going to know how to. Yeah. Of course Mourinho knows how to deal with egos. Mourinho's the biggest ego at the club.
I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I know it's not glamorous to talk about, and we're focusing on a lot of the attacking prospects, but we must remember that Chelsea had the tightest defence last year. Cahill and Terry. So what they like about one of those characters.
They both should have been playing for England.
Arguably, we would have potentially got into the quarter-final if they'd been playing together. So they've got an exceptional back four, especially having highlighted that Luis. He's a fantastic player. He's very much in the Mourinho mould. He'll run all day. Brilliant, primarily in defence, but he can also do what Ashley Cole used to do when he was 21. He can overlap, he can get across in, he can bag a goal. So I'm really excited to see him in particular. Some really good buys, I'd say. I know there's been a lot of focus on Liverpool doing the business early, but Costa, Fabregas, Luis, very tasty.
Still need a couple more wide men.
Yeah, but is he that kind of manager? I'm not sure we'll see that. Yeah, but remember what happened to Joe Cole?
Yeah, Dave, he's got the tools, but would he change his tactics when he plays the teams? Like, no respect against Crystal Palace, but he should be going to Selhurst Park and winning. But why should he go to Selhurst Park and basically park the bus at Selhurst Park, and then Crystal Palace do the same thing, park the bus? Then what happens?
Maybe underestimate Crystal Palace though, because they were terrific. Result against Liverpool, they had a terrific ending to the season.
But basically, they had to go to Selhurst Park and win. Basically, he parked the bus. Crystal Palace parked the bus. Crystal Palace go and get an own goal in the second half. After that, there was no plan B for Chelsea. They struggled. They could have been playing right now and they wouldn't have scored. And
Crystal Palace could surprise you this season. They could go on attack.
No, I'm not criticising Crystal Palace. All I'm asking, as a Chelsea fan, Brandy, and all your friends who are Chelsea fans, has Mourinho got a plan B?
Has he got a plan B?
Well, he's saying about his boring tactics, but he still returns that silverware, doesn't he, Ken?
Yeah, does he need that?
May I remind you, Brandy, and I know you ain't going to like this, so I'm going to move my chair a little further. But Jose Mourinho in the last 2 seasons has won that. Nothing.
Yeah, but we were pretty close, all right, Ken?
But he won nothing at Real Madrid in his last season, and he won nothing in his first season back at Chelsea.
Yes, we've got Diego Costa now.
But you've won nothing for 2... He's won nothing.
This is our season.
Special one has won
we're wrapping up
years.
Chelsea, so I think I'm going to ask the same question I asked you about Manchester United. Can Chelsea win the Premier League?
I think they can, yeah, with their 3 new signings, and I think they can, yeah.
Do you think they can?
They should win the Premier League, but
so Man United have got to win it, and Chelsea should win it.
And you want Arsenal to win.
They should win it, but I just think if it goes pear-shaped, Mourinho is going to criticise the team and the referees.
Okay, will Chelsea win it?
Probably no.
Probably not. Okay, we haven't spoken about the winners yet.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm going to say yes. If Costa delivers, you're never going to let me in the studio again, are you? But I'm going to say yes. If Costa delivers 25 goals, nailed on.
If, that's a big if.
Yep.
so we are going. You're definitely for Chelsea.
Yeah.
We haven't found your winner
so.
yet at the Premier League. We might well be talking about them in the next part. We're going to be speaking about Liverpool and Manchester City. Can Liverpool manage to get to the heights they did last season with Steven Gerrard getting on in years? We've also got Brandy here answering your tweets, and make sure you tweet her. #Brandy's Ball Talk. We're back after this. Welcome back to Sports Tonight Live. Brandy is here answering your tweets. We've got a really good one lined up from Chidgey. Do you want to read that out before? Well, maybe you tweet away. We'll come back to you in a minute, Chidgey. We're going to talk about one of your favourite clubs, Chidgey, Liverpool, right now. As a Chelsea fan, I know how much you love them. Liverpool exceeded expectations last season.
More than,
Are they the weakest of the 5 teams that we're going to talk about this evening?
I'd say yes.
I'll say yes as well.
Yeah.
I think the reason why I'll say yes, I don't know if the panel will agree with me, but I think the Champions League, being in the Champions League, I think what's happened with that, they've still got one of the smallest squads out of the top 5.
And Suarez going.
And Suarez going as well, which is a massive loss.
Yeah.
I think they'll be a top 4 side. I don't think they can win the Premiership. I don't, for simple reasons. You're losing Suarez's goals, you're losing his influence, and Gerrard's just getting on.
Yeah.
And they've
bought some good players though, haven't they?
Yeah, they bought Lallana.
They seem to want to buy Southampton. But
yeah, Lallana's a great player. Lovren's going to come to them as well.
Yeah.
And obviously Ricky Lambert, like I said, he's a very good, honest pro, and he will nick him a goal. However, the surprise element, nah. I think teams, when they go to Anfield now, are going to park the bus. Even Arsenal will park the bus against them.
But they're still going to have a lot of pace up there. They're still going to have Sterling. They're going to still have Sturridge. Yeah. Suarez, when he's been absent, Liverpool still won games. So is it that important that he's gone? I know that everyone on the surface will go, well, our chance has gone. Yeah. But can Liverpool build on what they did last season?
I think it'll be very hard. So, the Suarez leaving thing and all the buzz, well, shall we say, that they accompanied him in the World Cup, that's going to be quite damaging to them.
So yeah, they were without him, weren't they, at the start of last season, because he'd been a naughty boy again, and I think they collected 7 points in the first 5 games, and when you look back on that now compared to the end of the season, that arguably cost them the title. And I also slightly worry about the pressure on Sturridge's shoulders. When you've got one of the best players in the world that you're playing up front with, it takes the pressure off a little bit.
Yeah,
but
it's
now
far easier to play.
All eyes are fundamentally on him, so it's a massive baptism of fire for him as a player. He might well prove us wrong. He might
Can
be
I
a top
just
scorer this
interrupt?
season.
We'll come back to Liverpool in a second. There's a tweet here that wants to have a go back at you as an Arsenal fan from a Chelsea fan.
Yeah, Thomas Marriott says, this Ken bloke wants to look at his own problems in his own house before he digs out our Mourinho. Arsene, nothing for 8 years.
Thomas?
Check out your own house.
Thomas?
Yeah.
The special one?
Better recognise.
Special one in the last 2 seasons has won that.
Yeah.
See my fingers.
Last
See
2
my finger.
seasons
A little
to 8
space.
years though,
A little
Ken.
space between my fingers.
And you've also
Shows
got one
how
from
much
Chidgey having a
Mourinho's
go.
won.
Have you got that there?
Yeah, basically Chidgey is saying 6-0 Chelsea against Arsenal.
Chidgey, I'll deal with you later in private.
So the rivalry is obviously there between Arsenal and Chelsea. And going back to Liverpool, we discussed the fact that we think they might be the weakest of the 5 that we've spoken about, but can they surprise us, Ben?
Yeah, I think there's one player we haven't mentioned yet, a Serbian guy that they've signed.
Markovic, isn't it?
Laser Markovic. Yeah. What a first name that is. Laser.
Awesome name.
Yeah, incredible player. So yeah, I think they bought him for around 20 million. He came from Benfica. Before that, he was at Partizan Belgrade. Every season he's taken part in, he's always won the league. There's a number of pundits and scouts who've looked at him and saying Liverpool have got something very special indeed, and I don't think everyone else realises that. Within a year, people are expecting him to actually double in value. He's a really tricky player. I don't know if you've seen much of him, but looking on YouTube, classic research tool, his one-on-one skills are sublime. Beautiful one-touch football.
He's the kind of do that in the Premiership.
He's the kind of player that is going to get bums off seats.
Will he be able to do that at the Britannia Stadium on a cold night?
Yeah, on a cold winter night. But if there's going to be a breakout star, I think I'd look beyond Lallana. And I'd actually have a look at Markovic. He's going to be something very special indeed, I think.
Okay. I've got a tweet in about...
I'll tell you what you do. You look right into that camera and tell them. Go on.
I got a tweet about Liverpool's defence from Kean Barry. Liverpool's defence is still a concern, which casts doubts over title hopes. They'll do well in Europe, though, he reckons.
Okay, they'll do well in Europe, and it's quite interesting because the style of play is similar to Arsenal, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think Liverpool got a bit more backbone than us.
Yeah,
let's be honest, because last season they were absolutely brilliant.
Well, that's asked the same question we did about the other clubs, and we think we're favouring Chelsea, maybe Man United. Can Liverpool win it?
I think, yeah. I've got like 3 top teams that I think could potentially win it.
Okay.
And Arsenal's not one of them?
No. Oh, funnily enough, no. Man City, obviously Chelsea, and Liverpool.
Okay. And can Liverpool win it?
I think top 4.
You've had top 4.
Should, would,
top 4. I think they'll be fighting for the top 4.
Okay, Jonathan.
I think not.
Okay, Ben?
I think not, but they're going to be wonderful to watch yet again.
Okay. Well, the team that won it last year was Manchester City, and it all went down to the wire. Keep those tweets coming in. Brandy's here, so you're going to be answering those tweets. Chelsea fans, Arsenal fans, get those tweets in. But now we're going to be discussing Manchester City, and they haven't bought in the summer so far. Are we surprised with that? They haven't really bought a lot compared to the others.
The thing is, they still got two players for every position.
Yeah, and I'm not sure they need it.
They don't really need it. I think. But the thing is, right, one thing is worrying, you've touched on that. When you win titles, you got to freshen it up. You've got to have 2 in and 2 out. Liverpool sides of the 80s, under Bob Paisley, Dalglish and Fagan, there was always 2 in and 2 out. Man United, it's 2 in, 2 out. And when you're successful...
Man United's more...
Yeah, but I'm talking about Sir Alex.
10 out, but
if you're a successful side and you're at the top, you've got to freshen it up by about 2 players. And Man City may find... With the Champions League, which is a competition they got to have a go at, because last 2 seasons they've been shadow boxing at the Champions League. You know what I mean? They've like basically been like Arsenal, really. Just
they've been worse. So let's be honest about it. I mean, Man City have been dire.
Yeah, but
and the owners there. Whilst they will love winning the Premier League, it's got to be the same dream they have as Abramovich had for Chelsea to get Manchester City to a Champions League
I think that'll be their main focus this season.
It should be their main focus.
Yeah,
at least challenge.
And do you think they've got the capability to doing that? Do you think? I mean, they've got a very good strike force. Sometimes company worries me a little bit, but
he's the best defender in the league.
Well, I don't know. I mean, sometimes I've let him slip up. But from a City point of view, do they need to? You said they don't need to strengthen, so you're quite confident what they've got.
Yeah,
is
maybe it's just
enough.
Freshen up. Change the personnel a little bit, give the existing players, a little bit of a kick and see, if you don't perform, we've got this player.
Who are the key players next year for City?
The key players are
the same ones, though, aren't they?
Probably going to be Toure. That's arguably their biggest signing, because that did sort of threaten to be an ongoing saga for a couple of months.
Are they going to wish him happy birthday next year?
Yeah, probably.
He's staying for the fans.
But that was a storm in the teacup, because it was never realistic that he was going to leave. It was just playing him around a little bit.
Would you leave a club that pays you 250,000?
Well, there's no one else. I think that's a valid point, because there's not another club I would suspect in Europe that will pay him the wages he's on at Manchester City. And ultimately things come down to money.
Where else would he go? I think one thing we should say as well, the reason why they do seem to be a little bit short when it comes to buying this year is because they've actually got a fine, so they can only spend £49 million in net, as it were. So they actually need to sell big in order to buy big, and that's because of all their overspending. That's broken FIFA fair play regulations. So they're finally getting in trouble for that a little bit. So I don't think we are going to see like an enormous.
I think it's
signing.
18 million they've spent. 18 compared to the other clubs that.
Well, they bought competition for Joe Hart. I think that's what he needs. I think Joe Hart's really going to be their key player, because he's got to be on his toes now, because they've got potentially a number 1 who can challenge him, like Pantilimon. He's basically a Carling Cup goalkeeper, but this one is a number 1.
And he's from He's from Malaga as well,
and he's played Champions League football as well.
Played for Pellegrini. Was it Willie Caballero? Fantastic name again.
He's going there to challenge.
And I think Willie with the first name is a great name for football.
It's great for tabloids.
Absolutely. You just know there's going to be a shocker along the line, and let's slip Willie or something like that.
I don't know.
It is before the watershed, but there's going to be something like that.
Let's see if Joe Hart gets injured then, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the midfield, I mean, Nasri had a much better season under the manager that
man management.
It is all about man management.
Wenger put his arm around his shoulder. Pellegrini put his arm around his shoulder. Mancini decided that it was the best way to motivate him was criticising him in public. That doesn't work with Nasri. I've had Nasri at Arsenal for 3 years, and he's played some of his best football ever at Arsenal. And obviously, I don't think he's managed to translate that at Man City, but he still comes out with key goals, you know what I mean?
OK, well, we've got a Man City fan tweeted in, we've got some other fans tweeted in. There you go.
Yeah, we've got Man City Army. They say Man City will need at least 2 more signings to stay ahead of the chasing. A pack agree or disagree?
Well, as I said before, 2 in, 2 out. If you're successful, you need to freshen up with 2 players. But as you mentioned, Ben mentioned about the FIFA fair play. I still think Man City are still strong because they've got two players for every position, so they're still, in my eyes, the favourites. They've got 2 left backs.
Favourites ahead of Chelsea?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they're a better team than Chelsea. Sorry, Brandy, and sorry, Staffordshire, David.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they're
a better team.
But in terms of, you said 2 in, 2 out. But who are you gonna? Who's going out? That's a strong squad.
You've got Jack Wardlow there. You can get him out and sell him. Like I said, they can recruit some money because they've paid a lot of money with him. I believe Scott Sinclair's still in their box. That's
he will no doubt be gone by the start of the season.
So basically, loaned out. Loaned that. But day, if you're going by the FIFA fair play, then you need to offload the players who are not going to get in your side.
I think Milner sort of wanted out. I don't know what the latest is on that. However, he actually had a fantastic end to the season. Lost 5 or 6 games, so. I'd be reticent to let him go, and I never thought I'd say that.
Well, James Milner, he's basically the sort of person that you want your daughter to marry, isn't he? He's nothing exciting, is he?
But he does a great job.
He's son-in-law material, isn't he? He's not going to offend you. He's not going to excite you. He's just like steady Eddie, isn't he?
Arsenal would be a better team with him, arguably.
Oh, yeah, of course. I'll pay thousands of pounds to watch James Milner.
To marry him off to Arsenal.
Oh yeah.
Have we got any more tweets in?
Yeah, we've got one from Kian Barry again. He's getting right involved tonight.
Yeah.
Man City still favourites for me. Experienced team led by Kompany. Aguero, Silva and co will run riot.
If Aguero is fit, if you keep Aguero fit, then Keane, I agree with you. But if Aguero's not fit, then I think Keane, you need to.
They did struggle. They sort of got over the line because of the mishaps of Liverpool and Chelsea.
Steven Gerrard slipped.
Yeah, I mean it's a slip as well.
Dzeko kind of turned it on a little as well.
But Man City done it by not being. The exciting Liverpool. The team that excited me most to watch last year was Liverpool. Man City done it more workmanlike, didn't they? And got teams beat and just went there and just done the business.
That's kind of what you need in a Premier League season to win it.
But come on, their game against Everton against Goodlands Park was a disgrace.
Because Everton didn't turn up, you mean?
Everton were never going to turn up. If Everton tried, then they didn't want to hand the titles to Liverpool,
Ross Barkley tried. Was 25 yards out.
Yeah, then afterwards he thought, oh no, I'm an Evertonian, born and bred. Oh no, I don't want Liverpool to win this, and he disappeared. I just think Man City are a great side, and they won it fair and square, but they need to be on their toes. That's what I'm saying.
They're the most settled team, aren't they, by far?
And one last point about the manager. He's impressed, hasn't he?
Yeah,
the way he's been.
I was happy for him. Manager. He's a very dignified man. And he's had to put up with a lot of nonsense from the special one, digging him out. And I thought football was a winner when he won, because the special one won nothing. And this nice, dignified
You're going to get a load
man,
of Chelsea fans really giving
they're getting angry on
They're going to come back in a minute. They're going to get back.
Man won a title.
They're after you.
Because this Mourinho spent the last 4 years digging this poor man out, and it was a pleasure to see this poor man get one over the special one.
No, I think it's great that the Premier League was won with a manager who arguably he displayed class throughout the season.
All the way through, wasn't it?
Yeah, he displayed class.
So that was one of your 3 teams that could win it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so Man City for Brandy, not ahead of Chelsea, but you've got 3 teams. Can Man City win it?
Well, the title
they
favourites.
should do. They're going to do it.
They're the favourites, and they, like I said, if I was putting money on my house on it,
yeah,
I'll probably rather than
so my house, which is a tent somewhere. What would you put that on?
Basically, Man City are part rent and part buy.
Okay, so putting your house on it,
part rent, part buy.
Your house, who's it going? Because you've given 3 teams that are going to win the league tonight.
Well, Man United have to win the league.
Right.
Chelsea should win the league.
Right.
But my favourite's the Man City.
Right, Jonathan.
They're my favourites as well. They're going to build on what they won last season, and they're going to be the team to beat this season.
Okay.
Yeah, there or thereabouts, but just runners up for me. I think Chelsea are just going to nudge it with that extra influx of wonderful world-class players.
The special one has got a very, very good way of managing to spread all the goodwill and everyone getting to people's heads. And
Chelsea were all over the shop before he came back in that second stint.
We're going to have keep these talking about the special ones. We've got one more part after the break. We're going to have to take a look at the teams that might get relegated. One or two teams that might surprise us. Be back after this. Welcome back. Don't forget, we've got about 15 minutes. You've got to tweet into Brandon. She read your tweets out. We don't want to hear from Chelsea fans having a go at Arsenal fans. We want some Man City fans out there, Man United fans. Tweet us in. We're not being taken over by Chelsea, are we, Ken?
I don't know. You go anywhere in London nowadays, it's all blue, isn't it? Blue is the colour for some reason.
Apart from Shepherd's Bush, which is the best area in London.
We were like the top club in London, and all of a sudden, Abramovich's millions and millions and billions and billions, and a special one, and he's relegated to second place.
Just quickly going back to Man City, obviously there was an incident in relation to the under-21 game and the players walking off. Obviously that's being dealt with, but it's an issue that I would need to see the back of in football, don't we?
You've got to realise is that in countries like England, we have legislation that protects us against discrimination, and we deal with it better. In places like Eastern Europe and the Balkans, it's not an issue. For instance,
but it's good for them just to say, right, okay, we're going off.
Yeah, but I could call you a name. I could call you an idiot.
Yeah, and you'd be right.
An idiot, right? Now, that's nothing to you, but if you go to somewhere like Yugoslavia or Croatia, and you call someone a filthy name, that's the equivalent of calling someone an idiot. It's natural for them, for the first thing that comes to there, to use disgusting racial language like that.
Talking about European football, obviously we've had the World Cup, and some of the major key players have come out and gone to Barcelona with Suarez, and obviously Rodriguez going to Real Madrid.
What's his first name?
You have to remind me.
What's his first
I'm
name?
bad with names.
What's his first name? It's James.
But that's going to be these European games later on in the season. Real Madrid and Barcelona, PSG to a certain degree, maybe.
I was actually asking my colleague, does Real Madrid have any more money left over?
Where do they get it from? I know they're a big club, but
that's what I'm saying. They were going Cristiano Ronaldo, 87 million.
Come on,
James Rodriguez,
it's the King's club, isn't it? It's the King of Spain's club.
And looking ahead to something like the Champions League, it's going to be, is it going to be the Spanish or is it going to be the Germans? Do we think Bayern Munich are going to win it? Do we think Barcelona? Is it too early to say?
Well, PSG have got to have a go at this tournament. They spent loads of money, and really, as a boxing fan, teams like PSG, Arsenal, and Man City need to stop shadowboxing at the Champions League. Have a go.
Who masterminded PSG's defeat?
Sorry, Mourinho, the special one.
Last minute, got the job done.
Special one.
Impressive.
Mourinho.
But it does win games.
3-1 deficit, wasn't it? First leg.
You're going to be very popular. We are starting a series of shows actually on the 9th of August, and this guy here is going to be quite a lot, and we're going to be here on a Saturday. So if you want to dig him out, Chelsea fans.
Let me touch you, the special one. Mourinho.
Have we got any more tweets?
It's all a bit dry on the tweets, actually.
Oh, is it?
They're in shock after
they're
watching that.
Bored with your conversation there.
It's all just hate for Ken, really. I don't think I should read them out.
Absolutely, yeah. Actually, I've looked at them, actually. You're probably right.
I haven't met me, have they?
No, actually.
I'm actually a nice person.
In terms of...
It's not. It's horrible.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the Premier League, the next batch of teams, Tottenham, Everton... Do we put Newcastle in that bracket?
No, the reason why they're inconsistent. The trouble is that Newcastle are like Spurs, although Spurs have probably got a lot better than they are in the last 5 years. Teams like Newcastle, West Ham and Tottenham are one of those teams that can beat anyone on their day. Unfortunately, their day is few and far
Doesn't
between.
always happen.
No
No.
disrespect, but
And
you
then
can understand that. And under Pulis, Crystal Palace are one of those things. On their day, they could beat anyone.
And you
'cause
must
they
be
have
pretty
beaten them.
pleased with the way Palace ended their season.
Yeah, absolutely. If we continued that form, we would have. I think we would have been about third.
What are
in
you
terms
expecting
of,
as a
the
Palace
form
fan?
guide.
What are you expecting next season?
Um,
Relegation?
I'm just trying to think what is success.
Although Tony Pulis has never been relegated, that's just a little fact for you.
Tony Pulis has never played good football.
No, he plays long ball.
I think what we want is a consistent season. Obviously, it was brilliant how we finished it, but it was pretty horrific.
Yeah, you don't
under
want
Ian
to be
Holloway
fighting
for
relegation.
that first sort of 6 months. I think it'll be interesting to see who we get in. I mean, we don't have too much money to spare. However, what's like a massive success for us is that Glenn Murray's come back into the fold, and he bagged upwards of 30 goals when he was in the Championship. Before we went up, he got a horrific knee injury, and he's just about come back now. And we won 13-1 last week against a team called Graz in the seventh grade of Austrian football.
Against Columbus Crew, you drew as well.
I know,
we can't take these friendly games seriously.
Let's
Jonathan,
concentrate
can we?
on the 13-1.
Let's don't concentrate. What about the three teams that came up, and one of those teams is the team that I support, QPR, Burnley, Leicester. Do we think that?
Well, thing with QPR,
I don't like those finger signs. I really don't.
Queen's Park Rangers, they need.
They've got two good centre backs though.
But I think with Queen's Park Rangers, it's all about goals. I don't think you're going to score enough goals. You and Leicester, QPR, and Burnley, I think it's going to be the goals, a lack of them, that are going to let you guys down.
There is talk in today's Mirror that we might go for an ex-Chelsea player, Etu.
Oh yeah, how old is Etu?
Yeah.
How old is he, by the way? I mean,
I don't care.
I think
I don't know.
he's in the gossip.
I mean,
He's still got it.
Yeah, he's still got it. He's 36, 37.
He's definitely still got it.
I don't know how true that story is, though. To me, well, Harry Redknapp will bring out a checkbook if he feels.
Yeah, but I think with basically, if you want to stay up, and that goes for Leicester and Burnley, you need a player who can get you 10 or 15 goals this season.
And Charlie Austin won't be the man. You don't know much
It could
about
be.
him, do you?
It could. I know a lot about him actually.
Oh, okay.
He was
He's a pretty good player. I mean,
he was
yeah,
a
Bournemouth
Bournemouth, and he's a very good player. However, is he going to get the service? Yeah, you still got a has-been called Shaw Wright Phillips at the club.
I think he's on his way out, to be honest.
Yeah, but you need to strengthen
The
the
worst
midfield.
one we ever got was Bosingwa.
Well,
what a pile of rubbish.
I mean, you got it from that club
the
in
Champions League.
that club in
West
Chelsea,
London. I think they did it as an
club,
insult
innit?
to us. We saw it with Crystal Palace last season. Ian Holloway brought Palace up, and straight away, after a few games, realisation that you're struggling. Will Burnley find the same thing here, in as much that they'll support him? And
I think Burnley. Out of all the clubs, I think Burnley are going to be too open, and hence I think they're favourites for relegation. I think Leicester, tactically, they're going to make themselves difficult to beat. Queen's Park Rangers. I think Harry's a bit wily. I think they're going to be another team. Like on their day, they could beat anyone. And I think Harry is very astute in getting some good players in the club and motivating them.
I think that he's going to make QPR a bit hard to beat, but again, the same problem: who's going to get the goals?
We are coming to the end. So, is there any more tweets, or is that dried up completely? Because I was going to ask you one team you think might go down. Don't say keep.
West Brom. West Brom.
Well, Jamie Brownlow reckons that Sunderland are going to go down this season. He says they just haven't got the squad.
Sunderland?
That's a good bet. I would
They've
say.
not bought anyone.
Another thing. Don't be surprised if.
But he done a miracle there to keep him up,
But
didn't he?
you can't do 2 miracles 2 years
No,
ago.
what
How many
Southampton
miracles
though?
can you get?
Can Southampton keep on hemorrhaging their talents over the big boys and still survive in this Premiership? I'm not sure. You can't keep on doing that.
I think they're going to struggle. I've got several teams which I think are going to struggle, like Aston Villa, West Ham, Southampton is one of them.
I think West Ham will struggle.
Yeah, I think West Ham will struggle at
definitely.
all.
West Brom, for me, they've got a
West Brom.
manager who hasn't been in full-time
You know-
managerial employment for
Okay,
3
let's
years.
quickly ask you then. 3 teams to go down.
Burnley, West Bromwich Albion, and Southampton.
Burnley, West Ham, and West Brom.
Okay.
Bromley?
Probably. They're not in the Premier
They've got
League,
no
probably.
chance, have they?
No, absolutely not.
Burnley, probably Leicester as well, and I think there's a problem up front with Nugent. I just don't think he's going to bag any more goals. And then who else have we got? QPR.
You should not have said that.
I'm in so much
You've got
trouble.
to come back for a series of shows in August.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
I can
now.
invite you back on.
I think
or
they'll
not.
just
I've got to justify
they'll just
that.
sneak out relegation zone.
And in terms of the player that we should watch out for quickly, is there anyone that you're looking forward to watching in the Premiership?
I'll be
next
very
season?
interested. Well, obviously, Alexis Sanchez for me because I'm a gooner. I'm looking forward to him.
Yourself?
Alexis Sanchez.
Oh right, see, he's a Nottingham Forest fan. He's looking forward to that. Yourself?
Laser Markovic, and also Sterling as well.
Is that his real first name?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
well, I'm going to leave the last answer to the question to you. Who are you most looking forward to watching next season? I know he's going to wear a blue shirt. Please don't say Oscar. Who are you looking forward to watching most in a Chelsea shirt next year?
Cesc Fabregas, especially when we play Arsenal. That'll be quite interesting, I think.
You could also ask who you're happy not to see in a Chelsea shirt this season.
Who are you not happy to see? She likes them all.
Pretty
That's
happy
about
with
it. Right, okay, that's our look at the contenders for the Premier League next season. Just a quick reminder that from the 9th of August, we've got a series of 3 or 4 shows per week, so make sure you join us on Sports Tonight Live from the 9th of August. We'll see you then.